Welcome back to the Beauty Lab podcast. I'm Velia, and today I will be interviewing my co-host Monina all about acne. So Monina, I'm at a stage of my life where I never thought I would be using anti-aging skincare. At the same time, I'm still using anti-acne skincare. So when does that even stop? Why is it that I'm pushing middle-aged and I'm still having to deal with spot treatments for acne and can you explain what even is acne and when the hell is it going to go away? How do we make it stop?
Okay, so
Welcome to the Beauty Lab podcast, your drive time resource for all things beauty, health, and wellness. We're your hosts and favorite beauty nerds, Monina and Velia.
join us as we debunk myths, explore the latest trends, and dive deep into the science behind your favorite products. We'll interview industry experts and answer your burning beauty questions in 30 minutes or less. Okay, let me first explain what acne is. So according to the American Academy of Dermatology, acne is actually a skin disease or skin condition. So it can get worse and it can continue if we don't take care of it. It's basically a cellular dysfunction causing clogging of the pores, which leads to things like pimples, blackheads, whiteheads, nodules, pustules, all those acne lesions in the skin. And to answer your question, the reason why you're at the age that you're at and you're still dealing with it, because there's other factors that can cause acne as well, like hormonal changes, obviously. So some women and men experience something called adult onset acne because of the reason being the hormones. And external factors, so things like stress, genetics. Most likely if one or both your parents had acne, you're gonna also have acne. And that was the case for me. My mom didn't have really any acne, but my father, my grandmother, everyone on my dad's side of the family had acne.
Oh, okay.
So I definitely got it from them. And
Thanks, Dad.
Still love and then other factors would be external factors. So self-inflicted, if you're using the wrong products, that can also trigger or inflammation in the skin. Environmental factors, all those things can exacerbate your acne flare-ups. But to answer your question, it may never completely go away, even though we're older. Because we all think hormonal puberty, that's when acne starts. But remember, our hormones are still changing and we still have hormonal issues as we get older. And then things like diet and even certain drugs can imbalance our hormones. And again, that can trigger acne flare-ups to happen. So it's also really important to understand that there is a connection between your gut health and your skin health. So we can talk a little bit about that too.
Okay.
Well.
Oh my gosh. So being a woman, our hormones are just all over the place all the time. So there's no escaping it, I guess.
Right. No, sorry.
Okay. So what are the different types of acne and how can we manage those different types? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I could break it down to 3 just to make things really easy to understand. So we have acne, we have blackheads, and we have whiteheads. So those seem to be the 3 main things that I'm always dealing with or people are complaining about. So when we think about acne, the main culprit in acne is the hypershedding skin cells. So we're making so much skin cells so quickly that the body can't even exfoliate it quick enough. So then what happens is that dead layer of skin is just getting built up inside your pores. So now you've got this hyper shedding of skin cells, you've got increased production of oil. So people with combination skin and oily skin, you've got excess oil, excess dead skin. This causes an imbalance, which then triggers an inflammatory response in the pores. Now, this becomes a perfect breeding ground for the acne bacteria. So we have bacteria in our skin, we have good bacteria and bad bacteria. But when we start to see this clogging of the pores, the excess skin, the excess oil, and then heat, and then a clogged pore, it becomes a perfect breeding ground for the acne bacteria to start to proliferate. Because the acne bacteria is actually anaerobic, that simply means it cannot survive in air. So now you've clogged the pore, you've sealed off the top part of the pore, and there's no airflow. It's the perfect breeding ground for things like pimples and cysts and those painful, hard acne where you could feel it starting to grow underneath.
Yeah.
So that's what we consider acne.
Okay.
And when I say acne, it's more that pimple where you've
The
got
like little infections.
It's an infection under the skin. Exactly. Now, when you look at things like a blackhead, blackhead is the same thing, except there's no active bacteria or infection happening. It's just a clogged pore, but the top part is open, but you've got tons of dead skin and oil, again, trapped in the pore. And the skin, believe it or not, sees all that as a foreign object in the skin. So the body, if you looked at a side view of your pores, your body'd be like pushing and pushing and pushing all that debris up to the surface to get rid of it. It's trying to expel it for you. And
that's kind of gross to think about.
Yeah.
Like you see the motion that you're making with your hands.
Yeah, it's trying to push
if you're not watching this on YouTube, she's making some creepy motions with her hands.
Well, that's what's happening.
Right.
So then it comes to the surface and it oxidizes. So it mixes with the air and it creates this cap, which then when you look at your pores, it looks like a blackhead. Now, if you've ever extracted a blackhead, you notice it's not black when it comes out.
Exactly.
Right? It was just the oxidized portion that you're seeing. So when you push it out yourself and you do extractions, or when you go in for a facial and your esthetician uses the tools and stuff to extract it, it doesn't look black. But that is what we consider a blackhead.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah, because it looks black until you push it out, and then it's not the whole thing is black.
Exactly. Okay, so that's the blackhead. Now the whitehead, or sometimes we call it a milia, it's those little white, they look like white dots. You can almost feel they're a little hard. It's the same thing as a blackhead, except the seal is closed off. So the opening to the pore is closed off, so you can't extract it.
Yes.
And that's where people get into trouble, is they try to extract those little milias, and it just won't break through the skin.
Yes.
Right? So then you can cause things like scarring, if you're doing it, if you're trying to extract a milia, or what we call a whitehead or a closed comedone. Is what we refer to it as.
Yeah.
So the whitehead is also the same thing as the blackhead. It's got the excess dead skin and oil, and now it's closed off.
Yeah, the only difference is it's closed off, so it's not oxidizing and looking black.
Looking black, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh. Yep.
Okay, so what can we do to like manage these, any one or all three of these things?
Sure. Now that you understand the difference between them, so your acne or a pimple is when the skin is inflamed, you've got an active infection happening because the bacteria is in the pores. So when you're dealing with acne, you want to make sure that you're using products that have antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory properties into the skincare that you're using. So things like benzoyl peroxide. It's usually a gold standard that you'll see a lot of acne medications have, because what benzoyl peroxide is doing is it's actually releasing oxygen molecules into the skin.
Yep.
Right? And what did I just say?
Yeah.
Right?
That the infection can't live with oxygen.
Exactly.
Yep.
Acne bacteria hates the air. So if you go in for a professional treatment, we use something called a high frequency machine, which uses things like argon gas, and we're releasing oxygen right into the area as well.
Okay.
We call that the pimple zapper.
Yeah, the zapper.
The zapper, yeah. So that's one way you can deal with your active acne. Also, a professional treatment that would be great for the acne is also the chemical peels that we talked about in another episode. So if you want to learn more about chemical peels, listen to that. But a chemical peel can actually reduce the inflammation and help with the improvement of the skin texture in the skin too. Now, if you're talking about blackheads and whiteheads both, the key is exfoliation. So remember, with the blackhead, it actually has an opening to the pore. So using things that will soften and break up the oil and break up the dead skin, so things like chemical exfoliants, like your alpha hydroxy acids, your beta hydroxy acids, those are all good to help break down the blackheads and the whiteheads. And remember, the whiteheads you don't want to try to extract on your own. So you'll want to use things that have the chemical exfoliants to help soften that top layer and break it down and exfoliate it before you go in there and try to extract it yourself.
Yeah, I've had that. You really can't extract them. Like it hurts. Like it hurts to even try, and they're just like little tiny, they're so small.
Yeah, they're tiny.
And they're hard.
Yeah, they feel like little grains under the
and
skin.
you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then, so like exfoliating. Yes, that's exactly what and chemical peels.
Chemical peels, a physical exfoliant. You don't want to go to town though with your exfoliants, like, because again, you're thinning out the skin, and then that's going to cause other issues, other inflammations and things like that. You want to go about it smart.
And patience.
And very patient.
Yeah.
Because, you just had one the other day, and then you came in for a facial.
Yep.
I put on some enzymes, and you said it just kind of disappeared on its own. So,
exactly. Yeah. It was just gone.
Yeah.
What about, so dealing with blackheads, what about those Biore blackhead strips? Because I was obsessed with those. When those first came out, I was like, I think I was I was a teenager, but I don't remember exactly how old. But I remember those came out, and I remember using them for the first time and being like, what? Like, because when you have blackheads and you're a teenager and you don't even know, like, I don't even think you realize you can kind of like squeeze them or anything. You're just kind of like, how does this, what happened, and how do I make it go away?
Right.
And those Biore strips were like, mind-blowing.
They were like gold,
Yeah.
Okay, so the Biore strip, yes. What's great about them is they do have good things in there, like the chemical exfoliants. But what it's doing is you're basically leveraging the strip to pull up the blackhead.
Yeah, it like magnetizes.
So if it's a blackhead, yes, it's fine, and you can almost see it, right? When you pulled it off,
you can absolutely
totally see.
You look at the side, and it looks like a forest.
Right, because remember what I just said, like your body is always trying to push it out, and that's what you're seeing is you're pulling out what the body couldn't extract on its own.
Yeah.
So what you're using because it's very sticky, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically like you're attaching something sticky to the top part of that oxidized blackhead, and then you're ripping it off. Now, the thing is, it's fine. It's
I feel
great.
like there's a butt coming.
Well, remember how I said it's like it's in the pore, right?
Yeah.
You've got this dead, accumulation of dead skin, oil, and all that. Because your pore can be quite deep.
Yes.
So if you're only pulling the very top part, because what you're pulling is like the oxidized portion of the blackhead, what's still inside? So
all the junk.
So like in a couple of days, you'll have another blackhead. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when you pull that sucker off, because it's, I don't know if you've ever used them, but it like almost makes like a cast.
Yeah, yes. You can see like all the pores and everything in the strip.
Exactly. And you look in it, and there's like a decent
it's a decent amount
in there.
But remember, it can only pull so much out.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're not going all the way down to the very bottom. It's like a weed, right? You can chop the weed off, but it's back the next day, or you pull it from the root. So the Biore strip is a good like quick fix. But what I want to caution against is because you're pulling, and you're pulling it off the skin, and you're causing a little bit of damage every time.
Yeah.
Because you're exfoliating, but you're also lifting the skin. So anytime you're like dealing with lifting and pulling, you're going to cause a little bit of collagen damage there. Right? So you want to So what I'm getting at is it's a good quick fix to get in there and like maybe pull off some of those blackheads that are just really bothering you that you can't get to. But then use your exfoliant, use your cleanser.
Oh, for sure.
You know, all of that other stuff. The Biore strip shouldn't be the only thing you're using to combat your blackheads.
Okay.
Is what I'm getting at.
Good point.
So,
good point.
But they're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine to use. Just don't overly use them.
Okay. Got it.
So,
are there any over-the-counter recommendations you can make for products for people who either, I mean, I know we just talked about blackheads, so we talked about the Biore, but for acne, for, maybe even for the whiteheads or the milia.
Yeah, sure. So there's a ton of over-the-counter products that you can use, but before you try anything new, I always say do a patch test.
Okay.
So if you listen to our Lazy Girl skincare episode, we talked a lot about the pH in your skin. So the pH in your face is going to be the same as behind the ear. So that's a good place to actually test a new product out. So whether it's like a new exfoliant or a new cleanser, I do a patch test behind the ear, because if you do happen to have a flare-up or an allergic reaction, at least it's not on your face. Okay, so that's a good marker to see if a product is going to cause any irritation on the skin. With that in mind, though, there's a difference between having an allergic reaction to a product and a sensitivity. The difference is, if a product you're using for the first time, you have like an issue with it like 24 hours later, that tells me you're not allergic, you're sensitive.
Okay.
And the reason why you want to know that is, if you're sensitive to something, like a lot of times people are sensitive to retinols.
Yeah.
You can overcome the sensitivity by introducing it at a slower pace. Whereas an allergic reaction is something that happens, bam, immediately. I put it on your skin and your face feels like it's on fire, or you've got some itching, some discomfort like immediately. That may tell you that you're allergic to something in that product. So I just wanted you guys to understand that, especially when you're testing it out for the first time. You want to check for ingredients. So of course you want, for acne, you want things like salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide, niacinamide. A lot of these products can tend to dry the skin or start to make you feel dry or flaky. So it's really important then to introduce things in your skincare that help with hydration. So things with hyaluronic acid, things like that, to help with the moisture balance in the skin. Okay, because again, people with acne breakouts tend to have more oils, so they want to strip it and they want to get rid of all the oils and everything, right? But then you're also creating a reaction where the skin is now getting dehydrated or depleted of water. So you want to always have that balance between cleaning the skin, but then hydrating it too. That goes for any skin type, actually. And then when you do implement any of these products, you also want to be consistent. Right? And like you said with the Velia, right, it takes time. So you need to be patient. And the reason why you want to utilize whatever skincare line you're using, whether it's over the counter or something your esthetician or dermatologist gives you, you have to give it at least a good 30 to 60 days. Because it takes that amount of time for you to see what the true benefits and results are going to be for your skin. Because your skin turns over every 21 to 30 days. So you want to utilize the products for at least 30 days. 60 days just to make sure that it actually is working for you and you don't have any other issues with it. Okay, so with that said, now the over-the-counter products that you could purchase today, like at CVS or Walgreens or the drugstore, a cleanser would be the CeraVe Acne Foaming Cleanser, which has the benzoyl peroxide. There's different types of CeraVe formulation out there, but if it's for acne reasons, you want to get the one that has the benzoyl peroxide. Because it releases the oxygen molecules that we talked about. An exfoliant over the counter is the Paula's Choice 2% beta hydroxy acid. It's called a liquid exfoliant. Okay. So you can use like a brush to put it on, or you could put it on a cotton ball and put it on. Again, follow the directions, especially when you're dealing with exfoliants. You want to follow the directions on the bottle. You don't want to go overboard with them. And then any type of spot treatment, if you've got that active acne breakout where it's red and inflamed, a good spot treatment is the Neutrogena on the spot acne with the benzoyl peroxide. That also has benzoyl peroxide. And then you always end with a moisturizer. So the next one is a moisturizer. You always want to end with moisturizer no matter what your skin type is. And the moisturizer I recommend for people with active acne or blackheads or whiteheads, a good one is the La Roche-Posay Efficient Matte Moisturizer. And it's matte because most of the time people with active acne have really oily skin. So that's a good one for a moisturizer. And then a sunscreen, of course. So we have the Elta, ELTA-MD UV Clear Broad Spectrum. And it's a SPF of 46. So that's a really good one. You could buy that over the counter, because I know a lot of times some of these higher, some of the ones that the dermatologist will recommend, you can't get over the counter. Like you can buy it in there, not with the prescription, but like the doctors have it. But this one's a really good one that anyone can use. Okay. Now, with that said, not every product is for everybody.
Right.
That's why I say do the patch test, make sure that whatever I'm recommending, you can even talk to your dermatologist or your esthetician. But these are like some easy over-the-counter anyone can get today if they wanted to. Now, if for some reason you're like, none of those products are strong enough or just don't seem to do the trick, in the show notes, I will list a couple of more that have little stronger ingredients, maybe a higher price point, but you know, you get what you pay for sometimes is what I say. So if you need something stronger, we'll put those in the show notes.
Okay.
Those are like the ones that I can come up with for you right now.
Oh, that was a good list.
Okay.
And was a very generous list. So I remember reading like Teen Magazine and you know, and of course, like when it applies to you, you're like super interested.
Yeah.
So I remember there being like an article about acne and like when to not eat certain foods, right? So like I remember, you know, it's like a week before your period, don't eat chocolate. Well, I don't remember what the other ones were. There was a list, but the one that really stood out to me was chocolate because that's like when you really want chocolate.
Yeah. Right.
So can you kind of, you know, shed a little light on like how diet plays a role in acne and if there's any, you know, if that's like all the time or if it's like before your period or if that was just like, you know, just some stuff that Teen Magazine put in there for funsies.
So there's a couple of things in there. So when it comes to your diet, yes, the gut health and skin health connection is so important. And I actually, more than the topical products we use on our skin, the next most important thing is to look at your diet and your gut health. It really makes a big difference because myself, growing up, I started acne at the age of 9. And come to find out, it was all my diet. It was all diet related. So once I realized what my triggers were and I started eliminating them, my skin, 90% of my acne cleared up.
Wow, that's a lot of, that's a big percent.
It's huge, especially when I was in and out of a dermatologist's office, like literally every 3 to 6 months, and they were just throwing more antibiotics my way or more, you know, topical drugs, and it helped with the symptom for a while, and then I'm right back at square one. And come to find out, the antibiotics actually was making it worse. So your gut has a lot of good bacteria and bad bacteria, and unfortunately, when you're on antibiotics, it kills all the good bacteria, right? So it was causing this downward spiral effect with my skin. So it got to the point where it was so bad I didn't want to leave the house. So yes, diet plays a huge role in your acne flare-ups and your acne triggers. So I really recommend that if you or your teen is dealing with really bad acne, acne, you know, on the face, on the neck, or have you, I suggest literally looking at what their diet is. And let me explain a couple of things. Dr. Ben Johnson, creator of Osmosis, which I love, I utilize their products. He has something called a face mapping. I'm sure some of you have seen other types of face mapping, but his is, I really like his because he shows us how you can see that there's the breakout patterns in your face relate to something in your gut. So let's talk about 3 main parts of the face that most people tend to have breakouts in. So that'd be the forehead, the cheeks, and then the jawline. Those are like the 3 places I see breakouts all the time, especially my brides. The month of their wedding, right?
Oh my gosh.
So so if we break it down to those, so the forehead, usually what that tells me is if you're breaking out a lot in the forehead, that's telling me that you're having some issues with digestion. So the poor digestion could be caused by too much sugar, mucus producing products like dairy, fried foods, citric acid like orange juice or hard tart candies. Those can actually cause something called candida to grow, have an overgrowth in your digestive tract, and it can cause those flare-ups and actually trigger the acne response. So if you're experiencing a lot in the forehead, you may want to look at the types of foods you're eating. So you'll probably want to eliminate the dairy, the fried foods, citric acid. You want to drink a lot of water. You want to be flushing out, you know, all the time, and just want to cut out as much as sugar as you possibly can, because the sugar really leads to that candida overgrowth.
Okay.
And most, especially teenagers, you know,
Yep.
eating so much dairy and so much sugar, it's no wonder when you hit puberty, you know, you've got hormones and now you've got all this bad stuff you're putting in the gut. It's no wonder our teenagers have such bad acne.
Yeah, fast food and soda.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So keep the fast foods in mind. From the forehead, let's move on to the cheeks. So like anywhere in the cheek area, if someone comes in and I see a lot of breakout here, I know this sounds really weird, but I know that it's tied to their small digestive tract and they have a lot of digestive issues. And as a matter of fact, 9 times out of 10, when I ask them this question, it's always a no. And my question is, do you have a bowel movement every day?
Yeah.
And if they say no, I already know that, because the breakout in the cheeks, usually, again, that pattern is telling me that there's something going on in their digestion. They're not going to the bathroom every day. So I tell people your skin is the largest organ in your body, but it's also a filtration system.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if it's not coming out one end, it's going to show up somewhere on the skin. And when you don't have those bowel movements every day, unfortunately, you do tend to have a lot of breakouts in the cheek area.
Okay.
Okay. So similar to the forehead, though, because it has something to do with digestion, your large intestine and your small intestine, you want to avoid dairy for sure, and then you want to opt for probiotic-rich foods.
Okay.
Like kimchi.
Yeah.
Fermented foods, things like that. That'll really help
the digestion.
Exactly. So specifically for cheek acne, you want to start introducing those fermented foods.
Wow. So just adding fermented foods and eliminating the waste and the toxins.
Yeah, will help with the cheek area.
Will help with the cheek area.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Okay.
then, all right, and then the last one, which you kind of touched on with the preservatives or fast foods, is your jawline. So the jawline usually tells me 2 things. One, hormonal issues, stress, and then liver function.
Oh.
So if you're having a lot of liver issues, you'll also see a lot of breakout through the jawline as well. And again, like the hormonal issues, usually if you're the type that only breaks out during that time of the month, it's usually here.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right?
Yes, that is so true. You just glambushed me. You just glambushed me. Yeah, because there is a consistency with where you break out, right?
Exactly.
During the right before your period
during that
or
time of the
during
month.
or whatever.
Yeah. And stress.
And stress.
So again, when I'm dealing with brides, usually the month of their weddings, it's usually all in through here. So on top of the, the hormone and then the stress, we get some nice breakout. So so my biggest tip there is that time of the month, you definitely want to avoid those dairy products, too much sugar, because all of that together is a perfect storm.
God, it sounds like dairy and sugar are the two. That no wonder chocolate was in the teen magazine.
Yes. So to go back to that, the chocolate, it's not so much the cacao.
Yeah, right.
It's the sugar.
Yep.
It's not, so if you eat like pure cacao, you won't have that same adverse reaction. Now, when it's the jawline, also that usually tells me that you're eating a lot of fast foods and anything that has a long shelf life. So if you're eating out of a box all the time, you're usually going to have those breakouts happening along the jawline as well. So,
wow. Okay.
So you want to, at that point, you want to focus on eating lots of green leafy vegetables, of course, for any type of breakout, but like especially along the jawline, instead of the fast foods, you want to go to the vegetables, fresh food as much as you can, just a well-balanced, meal as often as possible.
Okay. Well, that was a lot of information. We do have one question, though, from a listener. The question is it okay, and you haven't touched on this, so that's awesome. Is it okay to pop my pimples?
Okay.
I'm sure that's a loaded one.
Yeah, it is loaded only because let's remember our definition of terms. So when you say pimple or I say acne, do you remember what that was? It's the hyper shedding, too much dead skin cells in the pores with the oil. It's closed off.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason acne hurts and gets red is because of the infection from the P. acne bacteria. So what happens when an infection happens, the body sends white blood cells to the area, it gets inflamed, and it's trying to destroy and kill the bacteria, right? So now imagine that bacteria, the body's trying to heal itself, but now you have something called a pustule, or what we see as pus.
Yes.
Right? When I say pustule and I say a whitehead, it's different from the whitehead we talked about with the closed comedone, the milia. When I say a pustule and it's got this white cap, it's because it's an active infection happening in the skin, which is your pimple or your acne, right? Please don't pop that.
Yeah.
Because what that is doing is the body, like I said, is trying to fight that bacteria. If you go in there and you try to pop it, and I'm sure we've all been guilty of it, what comes out? The pus and the blood, right? And what happens, unfortunately, is if you do not extract that properly, what you're doing is sometimes if you try to squeeze it and nothing happens, that's the worst case scenario because what you just did is you popped it, but it popped under the skin. That pus and everything just got pushed to the surrounding cells.
And now it's going to bring its friends.
Yeah, and so that's why the next day you're like, why do I have more breakouts? Because you just spread the bacteria to the surrounding cells. And also you can cause a lot of scarring and damage to the skin. And unfortunately, that's when you start to see those deep pick marks. They look like deep caverns in the skin. Or I remember in high school, we used to call people crater face, right? It's most likely because they tried to extract pustules and things like that. Yeah, so if that's what you mean by a pimple.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, please don't extract that or try to pop it.
So what do you do?
So for something, the thing you can, and I will go back to that. But if you're going to extract, I know that's what you mean by pop.
Yeah.
If you're going to extract, you can extract the blackhead.
Okay.
And remember we said it's an open,
Right.
It's an open comedone, and you can push it out, right? But the milia, leave it alone. The pustules, leave it alone. You know, cystic acne, you want to talk to your dermatologist.
Ooh, yeah. That you can't really
Right, that's really
anyway.
deep. You just definitely want to stay away from that. You want to talk to your doctor. Now, of course, they are going to give you, to answer your question, if you've got active acne, the benzoyl peroxide, exfoliants, chemical exfoliants to just help extract, but also you want to use things like spot treatments. A lot of companies have what they call an acne spot treatment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you did talk about that a little bit already.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's what you would use.
That's what you would do. You don't want to pop it. You want to use a spot treatment. And a lot of spot treatments, if you've ever noticed, they kind of smell funny because most spot treatments have sulfur in it.
Okay.
And sulfur is really good at combating those like little pustules and things like that. And then things that have tea tree oil, that's also very calming and antimicrobial and soothing to the skin.
Okay.
Because when it's an active pimple or active acne, you want the body to do what it needs to do because it's trying to kill the bacteria, but you can help it along. Just don't pop it.
Okay. What about those pimple patches that we see now?
So pimple patches are kind of like the same thing. That's kind of like a spot treatment. But what I think is so cute is it's a cute way of covering up a pimple.
Yeah.
Right? My daughter uses them. So they have like little hearts or little.
Right,
little,
they are. They're cute.
Yeah, they're like stars and you just put them on your face. But they usually have like probably like some type of, benzoyl peroxide or some kind of AHA or BHA in there to help reduce the inflammation that's happening with the pimple.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. That was, I feel like if I was, the 15-year-old me was listening to this, I'd be like, okay, I actually kind of know what to do now.
Yeah.
Instead of just floundering.
Yeah. I hope.
Praying that it goes away.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just understanding what the differences are, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
people say acne and they just think this broad spectrum, but there are actually different types of acne, and then now you guys know there's blackheads and whiteheads.
Yeah.
And we can treat them all differently.
Okay. Well, if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a like, share, subscribe, all of the things. And I'm Velia.
I'm Monina.
And until next time, keep experimenting
experimenting
with your beauty routine.